here we go again. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to get bored of the endless videos where I just grind down fiberglass and stick bits of wings back together again.
Are you not entertained?
The good news is, and you'll have to forgive the pun here, but we are, in fact, really nearly finished.
I don't believe a word of it. A single blinking word of it.
No, really, we are. I've actually decided at this stage not to put the grills in that I talked about previously. And so, after this video, there will be one more final episode on the wings, and then we can do something else. What you see me doing here is cutting out the apertures behind the light pods and then permanently attaching them by bonding the new light pods to the wings. And I actually think they look pretty good. So by the time we've got the lights and the indicators and the side lights on, I don't think we need anything else on the front at this stage. So having bonded the lights to the top parts of the wings, it was then necessary to get to the underneath so I could glass the undersides together. And by now, you all will know the process that we go through, so cue the montage music. Having done that, it was then time to get the final fitment of the wings sorted out. And in order to do that, it meant finally getting the front grille to fit properly. Now, this is something that's been annoying me for about 10 years, so it was really good to finally get round to grinding it all down, filling it, and filling in the gaps on the side of it. However, before we could get to the stage of showing you that I can do more than just grind down fiberglass and make a general mess, it was necessary to grind down the existing welded seams and to sand off any inevitable surface rust. Fortunately, I had previously painted the underside with zinc paint, so it was only the outside that needed attention. Fortunately, it all cleaned up pretty nicely, so with a few minutes grinding, we were then ready to get on with the next part. The keen-eyed amongst you may have noticed that in other videos, there was in fact a large gap part of the way down the front grille where the metalwork just didn't meet the wings. This was in fact a previous oversight of mine where I just misjudged how the wings would attach to the grille. So in order to fix this, it was simply a case of make a template in card of the right shape, cut it out of metal, and then weld it to the grille. With the metal piece cut and shaped to the right curvature, it was then time to weld it to the grille. And the important thing to note when welding steel bodywork is that the steel is in fact incredibly thin. So if you put too much heat into it, you'll either blow a hole through it, or the heat will cause such distortion to the metal that it'll take you forever to get it back to the right shape again. So what you see me doing here is a series of small tacks at various different points along the seam, allowing enough time for the metal to cool between each weld. Having checked the welds to make sure they'd fully penetrated through to the other side of the metal, I could then start the process of grinding them flush. Now, you can probably see that there is some distortion on the metal, so it was out with the hammer and the dolly to try and get everything back to the shape it should be. Now, for all you filling and sanding fans, don't worry. It wouldn't be a video from nearly finished if we didn't include plenty of that. The good news is after all the hammer work, the filler itself goes on incredibly thinly and is really there just to cover up the worst of the hammer marks. And overall, whilst this wasn't a job that I was necessarily planning on doing at this stage, I'm really glad I did, because it brings the whole front of the car together and helps me understand what it's going to look like when it's all done. This is, of course, all great until you then discover, when you put the wings back on, that they don't fit. Actually, to be honest, that wasn't too much of a surprise. I was expecting to need to do some final shaping before the wings could go back on properly. I also needed to be able to create a couple of extra brackets so I would be able to bolt the wings on without any visible fixings showing. So what you see me doing here is cutting and drilling 2 small brackets from 30mm steel bar. These brackets will eventually be bonded to the wings, but it's incredibly important to make sure that they are located in exactly the right place. So having drilled the necessary mounting holes, I was then able to weld on captive nuts that would eventually be used to bolt the wings on. We of course want to make sure that the bonding agent sticks the bracket to the wing and not to the car. So we applied the usual layer of duct tape before bolting the bracket on. So that was about all the time I had this weekend. I really do appreciate everybody sticking with me through this long, drawn-out process of getting these wings done, but I do promise next time out will be the last time we work on the front wings for quite some time.